Hello everyone, welcome back to the SAP Manufacturing channel. Today's video is about the inspection type 04 as we did before, right? But this time we're going to be adjusting this inspection type just to make it behave like the Z03 or O3 inspection type in process, okay? I will tell you the details in the next minute, let's say. So let's jump into the process, the business process first. So here's the regular process flow for the good receipt for production. As usual, the steps are you create and release a process order, right? Or production order as well. It will work the same way. Then you will do the good receipt from the order with the mega transaction or with any other method, let's say. For example, during if it's a auto good receipt, you will do it at the type of confirmation, right? At the time of confirmation. Otherwise, you can do it by interfaces, for example, right? Or in with the process industry, you can also send a message for that, right? Results recording after that, then user decision, and then you will do during the user decision, you will do the movement 321 from quality inspection to unrestricted stock. The difference here is that you will be able to start the inspection before or during the production, but before the good receipt. That's the main, let's say, advantage of the Z04 and with early lot. Okay, so let me show you in details. Okay, so let's take a look at the master data needed for the CO4 or O4 lot. As usual, let's jump into the material master, the QM view, the quality management view. We can open it and let's go to the inspection setup. First of all, it's important to understand from the business perspective what this means, right? The in process goes along the master recipe, right? There are a couple of main reasons where you need to do the in process inside the master recipe. One would be if you want to track the costs, right? For example, the QM cost can be tracked during the master recipe because you will assign, let's say, a resource, a QM resource, like the main lab, for example, resource, and you can assign activities with a rate, right? For example, 100 euros or US dollars by hour, for example, 1,000, depending on the cost, really cost of the laboratory, right? So you can assign those or allocate those costs to the order specifically. And of course, you know, when you do this, the settlement of the order, you end up sending to the material, depending if it's real cost, right? Because it's material ledger, you still going to have a standard, but you will send the differences as production variances, right? So when you need that, you might use in process instead of these early lot. Okay. There is another reason, which is basically when you need to confirm the operation, right? For example, for some important addition of raw materials before loading that raw material, like I mentioned before, you might need to check the pH, for example, right? Or if the temperature is fine or not. So a way of having this confirmation from the laboratory is to make it mandatory a confirmation of that operation or that phase, right? Depending on the type of industry we are in, right? But if you don't use the confirmation, or it's not mandatory, it's not the CO2 type, right? Then we might not need the in process necessarily, right? And in that case, we can use the CO4 as an early lot if we need to start ahead doing some inspection, let's say, right? There are some inspection that might take some time, right? And you don't want to wait that time at the time when you have done the good receipt, right? And then you need to wait until you get the user decision because the inspection is still in progress, right? So in those cases, you can start ahead of time because you already have the inspection lot created at the time of releasing the order, like we do in the case of CO3 or O3 inspection type, right? So in that case, you can decide one or the other. There are other criteria as well. For example, if, like I said before as well, right? If we have some impact in process, right? Parameters that will vary during the process and not necessarily will be the same at the end, then you need to use zero 03 instead of the O4, right? Because in the O4, you will have the final one. This is a very typical thing in the chemical industry when you have pH, for example. The pH during the process may vary, and the end product will not necessarily have a pH in the same range that you have during the process, right? Okay, you might start in a kind of a alkaline pH and ended up having a neutral one or slightly acidic one, for example, right? Depending on the ranges. So if that is the case, you still need to use the in process, right? So keep in mind that the z 4 is not just a convenience to replace the O3, but a way of doing it if you really don't need to use the in process for other purposes than just starting earlier to measure a few parameters, right? I hope this is clear. There might be other criteria as well, depending on the type of industry, right? But in general, you need to think about all this stuff. There is another criteria, though, which is related to the implementation itself. For example, if you have implemented PP and not QM, and then you want to implement QM, it's really hard to use the in process, especially it will depend on the way it was used, the master recipe or the routing for the materials. For example, you know that in the master recipe and in the routing, we have the chance to assign multiple materials, right? So if you do that without the QM criteria, let's say, you might end up putting different products in the same master recipe, right? Then when you assign characteristics, you cannot assign them because they are not relevant for all the products that are in the same master recipe, right? That is one of the criteria where you cannot use the in process, or I mean, you still can, right? But it's going to be much difficult because in some cases you will need to start splitting and creating more master recipe, and because they cannot share, uh, let's say, different characteristics or master inspection characteristic, I would say, that are not relevant for those materials, right? So depending on the strategy that was followed for the PP side, you might end up needing just an early lot, and you because the early lot will use the quality plan, right? Inspection plan, the regular inspection plan, the QP01. I mean, you cannot use for the CO4, you cannot use the master recipe, right? That is the main difference, okay? Keep in mind that as well, okay? Let me just show you right now the master data that it's needed. So as usual, we have the CO4. It has to be active, CO4, right? The O4 active. And here we have a control lot creation. This default one is always this one, right? But there is a specific one with Y here, which is the early lot creation for the order item. Okay, this is the master data needed to create an early lot. It means the lot, instead of waiting until the good receipt is done, right? It will be created right after or during the process of releasing the order and saving the order. Okay, that is the difference. Okay, this is the main the main master data, different from the other. Okay, of course you need in this case a quality an inspection plan. I mean, tier two, but no need to do anything new here. If you have seen the video for the CO4 group receipt from production, it's the same thing. Okay, no changes here. Okay, no changes, the same usage, everything is the same. The only difference is this setup creation of an early lot. That means that when we create the process order or production order, okay, and release it, the system will create this specific inspection lot, CO4. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, it's just to create very quickly the process order, and we will see that the inspection lot is created. Okay. So let's quickly create a process order. I will show you at the time that the inspection lot 4 or O4, right? It's created. Okay, let me just release it. It's doing batch determination, automatic batch determination. Waiting period just 1 week, let's put. Okay, and assignment, of course, since I have already, I still, let's say, have set up the CO3 or O3, right? We have this in process inspection lot as well, okay? But the important thing here is that we should go to this material, right? And let me just copy the material, sorry. So this is the in process, right? So that's fine. Let me save the order. This is the order, okay? Keep in mind, this is the number. And 65, QA 32. Let me put the material just to remove anything else. Everything else will be, there you are. So we have the in process because it was still active. Although, as I mentioned, we shouldn't have the two of them, right? If you want an early lot for the good receipt from production, then you shouldn't have the in process. And on the other hand, if you still need this for all the reasons we already discussed before, right, then they shouldn't be early lot. This could be just a regular one. After doing the migrate, you will get the inspection log created, and then you do the results recording and the user decision. Okay, but in this case, we ask the system through the early lot indication in the material master, right, in the creation lot control, that we want to have this, okay, in advance. Okay, so that's why we have this lot here, and we can start doing the inspection. Okay, however, it's recommended to wait until you have at least the user decision should be done after the good receipt. Okay, otherwise you will not be moving the materials from quality inspection to unrestricted. Okay, the movement 321, right? So this is important. Okay, I will show you that anyway. Okay, so we have this inspection lot. Let me go to, okay, in the next step, we will see the results recording as usual, right? And okay, yeah, basically we will need to wait, right? The real process is you do the results recording and the user decision after the good receipt. Okay, but you're gonna start working, as I said, in some of the inspection, especially the long ones. Okay, when you do this early lot. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna do the microtransaction, right, to do the good receipt, but I will show you quickly first that in this case, as you might have guessed, right, it's coming with the inspection lot already. Let me just remove this one because, yeah, material. Yeah, let me focus on the CO4, okay? Okay. This is the one, 165 is ours, right? Okay, so like I said, we haven't done the good to see yet, right? However, we can start typing the results here. Okay, this is the purpose of having an early log. It means we already have, right, the inspection log created with all the characteristics that we need to inspect. Okay, this is the reason for that. So let me just leave this transaction and let me open a new session because we need to come back to this one, right? So let me go to Mayo. This will be good to sit from order. The order should be 65, we said, right? Yeah, everything seems to be fine. Let me do the quick visit quickly. Order data, batch, date of manufacturer. I need to classify one period. I think it was that one, or I think it's going to be remaining shelf life. Okay, let me check. Okay, sounds good. Post. It's preparing document. Yeah, excellent. So we have, so let me take a look. MMPE. So we have this 45, right, batch, which is 100 kgs in quality inspection. Okay, so let's go now to, just in case, refresh. So we can start recording the results, right? Let me finish this one and let's jump to the next step. Okay, so from previous step, I already opened the QE51N, right? And we are at the specific inspection lot, right? Which is this one, right? 111. And we need to start just putting some results here, right? So let me just put a few values. 0.3. All values here will be in spec, okay? 0.3. Nitrogen will be 15.1. And potassium content will be 15.4. Okay, and we need to choose from the catalog. The attribute here would be no degradation, it means accepted. Okay, excellent. So let me just press enter. The, oh yeah, 1 point, yeah. So that would be, it's too large. That is out of spec. So that is what it's telling me because we can assume that was a typo, right? CO4. Just press enter. Everything was evaluated correctly, right? And everything has been, and all the characteristics has been closed. As you can see, status 5, okay? So just let me save this. And now we can double click at the inspection log level, right? And we jump into the QA11, as you can see here. I close this one. So we choose the utilization code from the catalogs. In this case, it's a selected set. So we can accept this. We will discuss in another videos because we might have more user decision codes, right? That will do more automatic postings, for example, and that kind of stuff. Okay, but in this case, this is a standard one. We're just gonna use this one this time. And of course, since this is a stock relevant, the Z04, right, and inspection type, which is starting because we assigned a number range. Standard number range will start with 4 unless you change it, right? But if you use it in standard, it will be starting with 4. I wanted to say that we have this inspection lot, right? So we have inspection lot with stocks, it means, right? So it's stock relevant, we say. So let's put 100, okay, presenter. So this will turn into 0. It means we move all 100 kgs into unrestricted because we might distribute as well, right? We can have one, I don't know, 90 and 10 can be blocked, for example, okay? Even though there are some complexities on that, and we can discuss that in another video, okay? How can we handle this? Because we cannot have two different stocks, let's say, in the same batch. We should not. It is not advisable to use that way. Okay. Okay. So we have everything, and one thing we need to consider as well. Maybe I haven't, um, let's say, mentioned that, right? That we are dealing with batch status. Okay. The batch status is an extra functionality, right, that will prevent the batch to be used when it's restricted. Okay. So in this case, if we don't do anything, it will remain unrestricted. Okay. But if we need to take some action, we need to restrict the batch. Okay. Keep in mind that in this case, still unrestricted. That's fine. Okay. Let me save it. Perfect. User decision has been done. Should not be here anymore. See, it's gone. Okay. So let me take a look at the MMBE transaction to see where the 100 kgs for this batch is. It's in quality inspection. And if we refresh, it should be here, right? Keep in mind that what I just told you, right? I talked about the batch status. Okay. This extra column, restricted use, okay, is that. Okay. You still do the movement, right? But it's going to be in restricted use. If you select restricted, of course, since we have selected unrestricted or left as it was, right, unrestricted, it will be moved directly to this column, right, as expected. There you are. Okay. So one thing to mention about the batch status is that you need to display with version 14. Okay. Batches with the status. This is the typical thing. Okay. If we just use CO1, the typical, that column normally is not there, right? So this is the typical thing. If you go, right, see, there is a missing column between unrestricted and restricted batch, right? Of course, if you don't have a restricted batch, that's fine, right? But if you do not put the 14 and you have batch, you might have a missing quantity here. Okay, that is why it's important to check this parameter. Okay, the display version. Okay, I think we cover. As you can see, it's very similar to the 04 with recipient production standard, let's say, without the LE lot. There's no more differences than the lot was created in the LE lot is created during the time of releasing the order. Okay, so you have more time to start processing, let's say, to start inspecting, right? Especially some kind of a more complex characteristics, for example. Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you'll enjoy it. And if you like it, please give it a like and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, please. Thank you very much, and I see you in the next video.